The official Mech Arena YouTube channel just released a new dev vlog video which covers upcoming updates and additions to this game. This includes a new mech, a new weapon, new maps, and an update to content access. In this video, I will cover everything they talked about and give my thoughts on all of it. First up is the brand new mech, which is coming up in a couple months. This mech is codenamed Frost, and it is a new legendary scout mech. Legendary scouts are notorious for running the meta. There are 4 meta legendary scouts right now, out of like 5 or 6 total in the game. Surge, Eclipse, Nomad, and Lacewing are all legendary scouts, and they're all very powerful. Here's the description they gave for this new mech. It creates an area around itself that immobilizes enemies entering the AoE, literally stopping them in their tracks. While the ability is active, Frost receives reduced damage, and enemies caught in the ability won't be able to escape or use any movement-based abilities. So this is very big. This mech might have the potential to somehow overthrow Surge or Eclipse or Nomad and be the new meta, which it terrifies me to think that there will be a mech stronger than something like Surge, where Surge has just been dominant in the game for 3 years now. I mean, this thing could overthrow these mechs. I'm not sure, but let's break it down. So it makes an AoE around itself that immobilizes enemies, meaning they can't move, not the stasis effect, but they literally can't move. It also emphasizes that, again, enemies caught in the ability won't be able to escape. So I assume you literally can't move. Now there's potential for this to be a status effect, and I would guess that it will be, which means that Eclipse can still move. But it also says that they can't use movement-based abilities. So you can't dash out, you can't jump out, right? So Lacewing and Lancer can't jump away, Tengu can't jump away, Nomad can't dash, Surge probably can't dash. Now the question is, can Surge dash from outside the AoE into it? And it also depends on how big the AoE is. For example, Surge stuns up to 15 meters away. Its stun radius is 15 meters. So let's say the AoE is 10 meters. Even if Surge can't dash into the AoE, if it only reaches 10 meters, if Surge dashes up to it, it'd still be able to stun Frost. But if it's a bigger radius, like 20 meters, the Surge AoE, the AoE of the stun, couldn't actually reach this mech in theory. Now, generally, Plarium does make new items at the simplest way possible, and they aren't like... They don't usually counter old stuff for the most part. So I would imagine, if I had to predict, which it's not really clear from this, but if I had to predict, Surge and Nomad will just, and Killshot and Slingshot, they'll all just dash into it, and then they won't be able to move and leave, but I feel like they'll dash into the zone. I don't know. We'll have to, it's really important how this is going to work, because the way it works really determines if it can actually counter Surge. Essentially, it would be like a shield to stop Surge, right? It says that they can't use movement-based abilities, meaning that they can't, like, press the button to do it. But what if Surge is outside the AoE at first, and then it dashes in? Can it keep dashing? Can it stun Frost? We'll have to wait and see, to be honest. This mech also receives resistance while it turns on its ability, which is pretty ridiculous. Legendary scouts should not have resistance, in my opinion. That's kind of not the right type of ability for a scout mech, right? Scouts should be fast, which this thing also will be. Of course, it's going to have high speed. It's not a dash mech, but it's the next best thing with probably 29, 28 kph of speed, of course. So yeah, we're going to have to wait and see how this works. But also, like, things like Eclipse, Shadow, they do speed up during their abilities. Deathwalker, Vortex, so those are partially movement-based abilities. They aren't dashes or jumps, which are clearly movement-based abilities. But will those things not be able to use their abilities in the area? We'll have to wait and see. But at the very least, this thing, to counter Eclipse, this thing will have resistance on itself, of course, so Eclipse can't counter that with its ability, but most likely this will be like an AoE status effect, and maybe it is stasis. We'll have to wait and see. We just really can't know. They gave us some wording here that implies that you literally can't move, but I can't just guess based off of this. So yeah, this mech seems like it might be really strong. It has potential to counter those dash mechs. Technically could counter Eclipse. Maybe Seeker can't warp in or can't warp away, right? We'll have to wait and see. I would predict that it's not going to counter things, but if it was tuned to the point where it does counter a ton of stuff, movement-based abilities, all those legendary scouts, all those meta ones that I just mentioned, can't, like, run away from this guy. And he gains resistance, so he's going to be able to outbrawl them. If Surge can't stun him, he can outbrawl Surge. Eclipse, even if Eclipse runs in, he can outbrawl Eclipse. He probably has higher HP than Eclipse and Surge, if I had to guess. Just the way the game has been going, I mean, we're getting slower power creep over time, and this is what they've said they're going to do. They're going to power creep the game. So yeah, this mech seems like it has some really good potential. And I will say, for some reason, this is very similar to the one that was the last devlog, Earthquake. Here's what they said for Earthquake's ability, which this mech hasn't come out. They said they talked about Earthquake first, then they talked about Silverthorn. Silverthorn has obviously released, but here's what they said about Earthquake. This mech creates a zone that slows down your enemies and prevents them from using movement-based abilities. So the same, but it says slows down your enemies, which is different than immobilizes them. Earthquake also activates a shield around itself. Depending on the number of enemy mechs within the AoE, the shield's HP increases. Earthquake is a support mech also. So I assume, I mean, there's a comment here you can see. Somebody asked what happened to Earthquake, and Mech Arena Official says it's a work in progress with a screwdriver. But this really feels like this is the actual Earthquake. I don't know, but that comment isn't really an official statement. So if I had to guess, we're not getting the previous Earthquake support mech, and instead it feels like they've chosen to make it into a more meta scout mech with a stronger ability where enemies can't move instead of getting stasis. Obviously has the same, you know, also resistance is better than a shield, most likely, unless they really tune up the shield HP, right, or the stacking of it, right? So I assume this is the new Earthquake. It's now a scout, so it has more speed, probably will have the same HP as a support, right? Scouts and supports have the same HP, even though scouts should be lower. So it looks like we might be getting another meta legendary scout mech, which it is exciting to see a change in the meta, but I just hope this thing isn't too overtuned to the point of like countering like Surge and I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It might be a really big deal. Also, the dual mech was another support mech this year, so we've had both Earthquake and dual, which were both supports, be like canceled after being announced in a devlog, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, this mech seems like it might be crazy. So next up is the new weapon Tunnel, which is a beam weapon. Here's what they said about it. This weapon will release a beam that will quote-unquote tunnel through mechs, dealing damage to anyone standing in the way. The weapon will work best up close. So this is similar again to that beam healer, the dual mech, the codename dual mech, which had a beam and that would heal allies, damage enemies, and shoot through everyone in an area like a beam. I don't know. So it's a new beam weapon, which when I heard that, when I first watched it, I went, yes! I literally went, let's go! But this doesn't sound that good because one, they say, they specify that the weapon will work best up close. And I think we all know what weapon works even better up close. You know who I'm talking about. But I don't know. I mean, unless this is the new Revoker, which would be ridiculous for us to go into a beam close quarters meta. That would be funny, but I also don't want that to happen because Revokers are incredibly strong right now. But yeah, this thing sounds like it won't be that good. We don't really know much about it. If it's, I don't know, unless it's like a huge beam, like a really wide beam, so it could just hit like a bunch of guys at once. There's not much of a benefit to being able to shoot through mechs, like shoot through your teammates. It doesn't really help you, right? You're still gonna get stunned by Surge, right? It doesn't really bring much benefit. But hey, it's a new weapon. It might be interesting, but it sounds pretty mediocre, like a lot of the weapons we get nowadays, which is kind of sad. I really was hoping for a cool beam weapon. Even if the beam healed, maybe this beam will be the dual ability. Maybe it'll heal your allies. I mean, I've always thought that a healing weapon to heal your teammates, obviously it wouldn't be meta probably unless it was really fast at healing, but it would be fun to play as a support, right? It would be a true support weapon. We have Suppressor, we have Quantum Gun, but a true healing weapon would be so cool to run on Salvor, and you wouldn't have to expose yourself. It would be really nice. But yeah, so far this just sounds like a mid-beam weapon, but at least they're jumping back into the beam category. That's something. Hopefully we can get some cool beams in the future, next year at least. And then, so yeah, the mech and weapon here kind of, in theory, combo together, right? It's a close quarters scout mech, right? It wants to run up, ambush people with its ability, lock them down, and then, in theory, it would combo with the new beam weapon. They try to make, like, new releases sort of work together, but usually they don't, because they're usually not both meta, so nobody's going to use them, which is sad to see. But yeah, the close quarters being a beam weapon just seems silly, because Revoker's just going to out DPS that. Next up is 3 new maps. They didn't say this, but I can only assume they're for 5v5. There's some images here on screen. First up, we have this one with like an archway, and then there's this one with boar in the middle. The signs on these maps are pretty cool. And finally, this is by far my favorite, this one with a giant Lancer inflatable on it. I love this. It's so funny. I can't wait to do little custom matches on here, assuming they actually add it to the custom queue. But yeah, we're going to do Lancer only customs on this map for sure with our giant Lancer inflatable in the middle of the map. I think it's so funny. It's a nice little bit of fan service here, but it's new maps. They seem pretty good. They have a lot of color in them. Like, even though they're the winter themed maps, yeah, this is all like a winter release with the mech being Frost, and then also with the maps being like this. So I can only assume this will be like the tournament for December when these come out. These also are coming out in December, so yeah. But you know, these maps look fine. New 5v5 maps are not that big of a deal, but the one Lancer one is my favorite part. I'm sure these will be used for tournament though, so if you're a tournament grinder, might be something important for you. They look fairly close quarters, which usually is how every tournament map is, but they seem fine to me. Nothing wrong with them. And then finally, the last news we have is that they said soon you'll be able to test new content for free. That's the only words we got. Soon you'll be able to test new content for free. So at least that means we're gonna get, like, you know, if it's the new mech, when Frost comes out, you'll be able to hit a button and go into a bot-only custom match or custom training ground where you can just try it. Just use the ability, see what it does, so you can just see what it does without like having to base it off of footage from, you know, whoever has the actual weapon or mech you want to try. So hopefully they added this where you can do this with every gun, but it might just be the new ones. It says new content, but I assume it's just like we can test all the guns, which is something people have asked for a while. It's a pretty simple game feature that should be added, so this is a good update. It's not going to be like huge major thing or anything, but hopefully, if it were my vision, I would want it to be like a limited time mode. So Frost comes out, and then we get a custom mode where everyone only has Frost with the, what is the new beam? I forgot. The tunnel, the beam. So it's Frost with the beam, and everyone just has one of that in their hangar, and then you just fight 5v5 deathmatch or something with just that. And see how it goes. You can test the new items, have fun in an LTM, and everyone has the same level equipment, so it's a fair playground, right? This was a thing they did in War Robots, which was one of the most fun things in the game. They would do cool little custom, like, things like that, whatever, right? They've worked on PvE in both of those games, War Robots and Mech Arena. In Mech Arena, it's, like, pretty much nothing. They're basically discontinued it, I think, at this point. So if they want to put those resources and developing resources into an LTM for this, that would be really fun, in my opinion. But you know, Plarium, if you're listening, please make an LTM. It would be so much fun. That's a limited time mode, by the way, in case you don't know. But, like, yeah, basically everyone has the same hangar, and it's like a custom funny hangar. Lancers versus Shadows or something like that. Anything they want, really. So, yeah, but this new update, you can test new content. Should be good. It's just a simple quality of life feature, but it's something they should have added, you know, at launch, and at least they're adding it now, right? So at the end, they said that the maps in the mech at least are coming early December, which is likely December 5th. That's the first Friday of the month, and usually big releases are on Fridays. So it's unclear if that's going to be like the next mech. It could be. It's been like 2 months since OVERTHROW was released, and then it's 2 months, you know, from now to December. Basically, well, it's less now, 1.5 months till the beginning of December. So I'm not sure if we're getting another mech in between. We'll probably get one weapon in between, but we'll see. I mean, we just had the, what's the new weapon? The Squasher come out. So, but yeah, these are coming out early December, and then they didn't say for the, like, the new content, testing new content. That probably will be in 2026, next year. We're getting close to 2026. That is crazy. But yeah, there you go. That's the updates. The mech seems like it might be good, which is good. I want it to be, you know, balanced, right? Parasite was released this year. That was a very balanced. It's strong, but it's not overtuned. It's not OP. It's not in every hangar, but it certainly works in a lot, right? There's nothing wrong with, you know, Parasite's the type of release we want to see. It's strong, but not game breaking, right? The maps seem fine. I'm just excited for my Lancer inflatable. I don't play 5v5 much, so, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on all these things in the comments. Yeah, overall pretty good news, good additions. We'll have to wait and see, but this is coming in about 2 months from now, less than 2 months. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.